The first trip I took this film stock on was a weekend visiting family down in Wiltshire. The first day there, it was forecast to be grey the whole day, so I decided to go out quite early in the morning when it was still misty and at least there was some atmosphere and mood, so I could maybe try some of the low light capabilities of this film stock, which was not the correct move being a 100 speed slide film. The first few shots were actually okay. I took these misty shots of the trees in the mist and there was just enough atmosphere, enough excitement for it to kind of work. And everything was on a tripod and nice and steady, so the low light didn't really impact me. The next shots, however, I completely stuffed up. I thought that there was enough light for me to be able to handhold. I was shooting around 115, maybe 130 per second, I can't quite remember, but somewhere around that range. But I was on a medium format telephoto camera, reasonably heavy Mamiya 645. Bad idea. The following morning, I loaded up a second roll and went out again. That morning, it was much lighter and brighter with clear skies, and so it was a much more enjoyable morning out and much more the kind of photography that I enjoy doing. The first few shots were okay. We went down into the valley afterwards, and then there was sort of structure and the moon was still out, and there was a few compositions there that I really think could have worked. I think some of them were okay, the photos I took, but I think there were definitely better photos there if I had been thinking better and been thinking through my process a bit more. There were some shots from this weekend that I'm okay with, but none of them are stunners, none of them I love. But everyone makes mistakes, and I got these back before I moved on to the next shoot. So I felt like that helped me a lot to learn the film stock and figure out what I was going to do with the next set of photos. Over the Christmas period, Santa, otherwise known as my loving mother, acquired me a Mamiya 7, which is just mind-blowing, and I've absolutely loved shooting on it over the last 6 or 7 months. Soon after, at New Year's, I wanted to take the camera for a proper whirl, so I drove up to the coast just north of me, up to a place called Brean Down. And at the time, it was still quite grey. And so the first few shots are a bit dull, but they're okay. There's just not really much light, and there was only so much I could shoot in that condition. And I was kind of just too excited to shoot with the camera, so I didn't just wait and go, there will be light, there's forecast to be light, I'll just chill for 15 minutes. No, I was straight in there, I had to take some photos. Soon after, about 15 minutes, 20 minutes later, some light did start to peek through the clouds, and it was making some really lovely shafts coming down through the clouds that I couldn't resist just taking a photo of. By Mamiya, I've got the 150mm, and I stuck that on it, and I took these, which are some of my favourite photos of the day. Once the light started to dissipate a bit and hit objects in the environment, not just the sky, I got a few other photos of just sort of things around me that I liked a lot. And I liked using the depth of field and the perspective because you're quite high up where I was, looking down at the ocean with the waves. I think this shot was really nice. My last shot of the day was of a silhouetted family looking out at the sky, and there was a nice light shaft, and I did really like it. I think it's not the best of the day, but it's my first time shooting people on this camera, and I do really enjoy shooting people on this camera, even though it's not generally what it's used for. With that trip over, I went back to the coast the following month, at the end of January, down to Cornwall with my sister. I had 2 rolls left and I ended up shooting both of them on this trip. The weather again wasn't very compliant. It started out very grey with very few bursts of sun, so the photos are a little bit middling. I won't blame it entirely on the weather. I know that a good photographer would probably find better subjects in this weather, but I struggled. This first shot is a bit of a blasphemy because I decided to convert it into black and white, but the town looks so much better in black and white with the contrast of the white buildings in the background. Now with my apologising to purists done, we spent a lot of time walking up and down the cliffs, and I really wanted to get some dramatic photos of waves and spray coming up on the cliffs. And I did manage to get one photo before my sister managed to fall into a rock pool and we had to leg it back to the Airbnb. One of my other sort of set of experiment photos I took with this film stock were some long exposures. There was one evening where there was quite a lot of lovely colour in the air, but the sun was setting over the land behind us, so there was really nothing to do at the coastline. They weren't the longest exposures because I didn't have a filter system with me or any of my ND filters, so I could only do so long. I think the longest one I did was 15-20 seconds, but the photos were still quite fun. The only issue I had with those photos was that they came back really, really purple. I do find that Provia generally leans towards that purple hue, and I don't mind the leaning, but when it was overly purple, I had to correct it quite a lot for especially these long exposures. The other photos were generally fine. So the last shot of that trip was in the morning, there was a sunrise. It was quite a boring shot, but it does show off the colors that Provia does, and it does it very well. Now the last couple of shots, similar to that one, I don't think are the best photos in the world, but I think they do show off Provia quite well. So back in Wiltshire, when I got back from this trip, I wanted to finish off the rolls so I could send them all off together. And there was a lovely evening with a reasonably nice sunset. I thought, well, let's just snap a couple of photos and see what they're like, and just so we can show off more of the color range of the stock. Whilst those photos aren't the most exciting, I did have a lot of fun playing with my 63mm, which is my widest angle lens I have for the Mamiya, and it was really wide and felt really fun shooting on something that wide. I wanted to note a few things about scanning and editing the stock. So once I got the first batch back, I was really disappointed with the photos themselves. At that moment I decided that I was going to scan them myself, because before, for all my photography, I've been using lab scans, and I think that I kind of just assumed that it was kind of something that was done, but I was looking around and looking at different people's scanning processes, and I've ended up doing DSLR scanning with a macro lens on the camera that I'm recording on now. And that is one of the fun things about color positive film, is that when you get the slides back, you can see straight away what the photo is going to be like. There's no inverting, it's just correcting color, adjusting things, contrast to your liking. And I did find that on a few of them, like the long exposures, I had to reasonably drastically adjust the color, but most of them were pretty much as I saw them on the slide. I scanned them on the computer and then just, they were there, they were done. Which is a fun, different process to color negative film. I'm not really a purist when it comes to editing film, so if I want to convert it to black and white, I will. If I want to clone something out, I will. I kind of just want to do whatever I think is the artistic vision that I had when I was taking the photo. So what are my final thoughts on the film stock? I think it's a reasonably vivid, contrasty film stock compared to the things that I normally shoot, like portrait, like gold. I did like the fact that it lent towards the purples, because that's different to what I normally shoot, and it was fun to experiment with, but I don't think it's going to be my go-to film stock. But if I have some, I'll definitely shoot it, and if I see some for a reasonable price, I'll definitely pick some up again, because I really did enjoy shooting it. I think it's reasonably versatile for 100 speed film. And that wraps up my opinions on my 5 rolls of Provia that I bought. Sorry for people that had to wait so long for another video on the channel. I've kind of just been doing other things, living my life, and you can tell by the fact that the content for this video is from November of last year. So we've got a reasonable amount of content to catch up on, but hopefully there'll be new videos coming out soon and you'll be able to see more of the photos that I've been taking. So I'm hoping someone's found this entertaining and interesting. See me in the next video. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see anything else. If you have any questions or any suggestions, please let them down in the comments below. I'll read and reply to everything that I see. And have a lovely rest of your day.